Rick Ginn here with Flip with Rick. In this video, I'm going to show you the top 10 ways to landlord yourself to your very first rental property. And I'm going to share with you my 18 years experience of these top 10 things. And I'm going to try to do them in order of importance. So before we get started, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and let's just go ahead and jump into it. At some point, if you do real estate investing, particularly wholesaling, which we specialize in, you will have the ability to acquire rental properties. Doesn't matter how you get them, mostly through wholesaling, but there's some that you want to cherry pick. Maybe there's one in your neighborhood. Maybe there's one a few miles by. Simple rule on your first property, try to keep it within 25 miles of where you reside. It makes your life a heck of a lot easier. I've learned this the hard way, okay? But I'm just talking about your very first property that you can landlord. So let's dive in. We've talked about location. We got out of the way. Number one, what you want to do is, the biggest thing is, by now, if you're learning the wholesale, you have learned to become an expert at marketing. Even if you're still just getting started to do it, the best wholesalers actually wind up being really, really crafty marketers. So we're going to take that same skill set we use to locate motivated sellers, and what we're going to do is call micro marketing for tenants. What does that mean? So many investors overcomplicate on how to find tenants. The best way I found in my 18 years experience is just take a simple bandit sign. You can find a sign store near you. You can go by Home Depot, buy a blank one for $1 or $2, and then just write. And what you're going to put on there is rental, I don't know, 2232, whatever you got, for rent, and put a phone number on the bottom. Less is more, no more than 3 lines on it, guys. Don't try to put all the information on there. And what I mean by micro marketing is you want to put it in that surrounding neighborhood. So if you're coming in a neighborhood, take notice to wherever there's a stop sign, not a stoplight, a stop sign. If there is a corner property and it looks like the city or the county owns it on a swale, that's another spot. Put out 5 or 6 signs in that neighborhood. You know why? Because people driving around that neighborhood know the neighborhood. They have friends that live there. They're visiting family. They already love the neighborhood. The problem is, if you rely on Craigslist and Facebook, all these other things, is they don't know the neighborhood. They might like what you have, but they don't know the neighborhood, and they're going to waste a lot of your time. So micro marketing is king. It saves a ton of time, and at least 70 to 75% of our tenants come from a sign within the neighborhood, no more than 4 to 6 signs, and you put it in there, 322 for rent, and your phone number. So by now you've learned we never put our cell number on there. You're going to put a virtual number. You can go to places like Vumber.com, CallRail. There's a million of them. Just search virtual phone numbers. And what you can do is screen the phone number. And if you're going to take the calls, it'll go to your cell number. If you're going to use a service to help you screen these applicants, that's the best way to do it. So micro marketing. On to the next one. You guys are going to probably go, hey, I don't know if I want to do this. At number 9, you want to do an online application. Rick, that sounds complicated. Actually, it's really, really easy. Using an online application streamlines your process and makes your life super easy. If you don't know how to do it, just go online and type in rental property online application, and maybe put screening with it. And you'll see pages and pages of service, and they will do this for a very nominal fee for you. It helps organize. It makes you look much more professional. And here's the really cool part. The idea of your tenant is to make sure they follow directions. If they don't follow directions, heed the warning, they're going to be difficult. If they don't do the online application, you're probably going to have problems. If they really want the property, they will jump up through enough hoops to get it done. They also understand if they go through an online application process, it's going to be a formal process and it's very professional, and they're not going to be able to manipulate the property owner. And quite frankly, they don't even know who's processing the application. So micro marketing, online application, just Google it. They're everywhere. They're really, really cheap. It's well worth it. So the next thing we want to do is you do an online application. Usually these services that are offering it to you will do an instant background check. Now, what is a background check? What we're looking for is, let's face it, if someone has a long list of felonies, I don't want to deal with them, because you know they're going to be problematic. They're going to bring problems into your property, and that's your rental property. So that's your first line of defense. If somebody's committed multiple felonies, it's a sign that it's probably going to happen in the future. Now, this comes with some caveats on it. If somebody has a felony for like a DUI or something like that, and they got one when they were like young and they've got a clean record, I'm not going to write off that person. But somebody who committed murder or like did something crazy, it's non-negotiable. I don't want to deal with it. Somebody who's had a violent past, we don't want any part of that. And most of the time when you tell me to do a background check, they'll mostly run. Now, if they pass your background check, the second part of a background check is you doing your homework. What do you mean? Go and Google these people. And what you're looking is maybe they have a social media profile, and just see if what they're telling you matches up what they say. If she says she has 2 kids and a husband, when you go to her Facebook page, you should probably see alignment with it. If you see something completely different, they're probably lying to you. So I don't want you to do the background check per se. Let a professional do that. But you can do a social media check. You can check, see if there's any other content out there, and you can get a good idea if their story adds up. So that's all part of the background check. That is number 8. Number 7, you have to have a pet policy. You better have a stance. Now, I have a dog in my house. I love him to death, but he's a pain in my butt. He scratches doors. They have accidents. When they're puppies, they're a nightmare. And when they get really old, they're difficult. But we love our pets. And sometimes we mix up the business with our personal alignments. Now, have a pet policy and stick to it. If you're strict on no pets, that's fine. You will have a cleaner house. A lot of people go, well, we get a pet, they'll charge us more. Trust me, you can't charge enough to make up for the damage of what a big dog can do to a house. You also have to take in consideration, do they have a backyard? Do you have enough room? Most insurance policies on a rental limit pets to 35 pounds or less. I would stick to those guidelines. And then I also go a step further. My property manager or whoever I have with that particular asset, we check out the pet. So pets are honest. If they're mean and nasty, they're going to snarl at you or try to bite you. If they're super sweet dogs and they follow commands and it's not a puppy, then it's your decision. So the houses will smell and be a little bit rougher, and pets are really rough on carpet in particular. So make sure you get a pet deposit. That's going to be in your pet policy. That is in the pet policy. On the next one, moving on to number 5, employment verification. This is a big one. It is not a background check. Employment verification is you or your online service. A lot of these things are a la carte. And they'll ask for their last 2 employers. Hopefully it's one. Hopefully they've been there 4 years or plus. A minimum 1-year employment. They should live locally because most people have to commute back and forth to work. And you're looking for consistency in the paycheck, and they get enough, and that what they say is matching the records. You decide. A lot of times in our company, we do a background check. After the background checks, we call and verify the employer just to make sure we're getting the truth. So number 5, the employment verification is huge. This is going to tell you if they're going to pay the rent. This is telling you if they have a good job and they're a good standing with their employer. So go ahead and take that. Be wary of anyone who says they're self-employed. Make sure it adds up. If they're a licensed contractor, have them show you a business card. They usually have a van or a truck with a decal or lettering on the side, or they have a place of business. I take in all the data and I see if the story adds up. So I hope this is making sense. So the next one we're coming in is we're going to do a video walkthrough of the property. Now, I'm trying to do these all in order, so if I mix up the numbers, I apologize up front. So before the tenant moves in, I'm going to take a video of the entire property. Maybe the property manager or who's ever managing the asset is going to walk through and videotape it, and you're going to make sure it's time-stamped with a date on it. That is your proof of the condition you gave them the property. Do not negotiate this. I find video to be much more powerful than pictures. You can add pictures to it. The more, the merrier. And let the tenant know you have documented the condition of the property. And if you want, you can show it to them. And then you do the walkthrough and kind of show them and let them, mark down any little knickknacks or anything like that. But the next one on that is a video walkthrough. So I'm at number 4. I know I probably mixed up some of these, so I apologize. Number 4 is a huge one. You have to clarify the terms of the lease. Is it 1 year? Typically, just commit to 1 year. Do not commit to multiple years. That's not good for you, the tenant, and your business. Sometimes it's good for the tenant because they lock you in, but it allows you to renegotiate your lease, especially if rents are going up. Rents have been going up and up. You don't want into a long-term lease. You definitely do not want a month-to-month lease unless you've owned the property for a minimum, in my opinion, 2 years, but the least amount of case scenario is 1 year because you're trying to spread the cost of acquiring the property over time and let your tenant pay for the bills. So we're going to clarify the lease. You're going to do the terms, when payments due, how to make payment. It's real simple. There's a lot of these services on the online application. You have the ability where they just pay the rent online. So let's get rid of this, the checks in the mail. Do not take that one. Try to find like an online payment portal. It's so much easier. Yes, it's going to cost you probably 3 or 4%, whatever they charge. But when the payment's due, it's payments due. So if it's due on the 1st, you tell them they have till the 3rd or the 5th, whatever you come up with, never go past the 5th, and clarify what the late payment is. Also, let them know what your policies are for if there's a repair or anything like this. I don't want to go through like the whole long list. All I'm saying is make sure it's crystal clear how the lease is going to work and what you expect from your tenant. And I also make clear, unless that house is burning down on fire or something dangerous, not to call at 3 a.m. Remember, you have a virtual phone number. You're going to have an answering machine. I rarely answer these calls live. So not me, but like whoever we're working with. So walking in at number 3, okay? You cannot discriminate. You have to treat every potential candidate the exact same. What do I mean by that? It's real simple. We are looking for a qualified tenant that will pay the rent and take care of the house. I don't care where you're from. I don't care. I do care about your background. But the main thing is you have to treat everyone equally and the same. It's fair. That's what you have to do. That's the law. And that's really what you should be. That's the human thing to do anyway. So I'll kind of let that one go. We'll go from there. Number 2, these last 2 are really the biggest ones in my opinion. So I learned each one of these the hard way. I learned this through myself. At one point, I managed 26 properties, just me and my wife. That was a rough time in Port St. Lucie. But these last 2, I learned through property managers and people I hired to help me manage my rental portfolio. Number 2, you can never, ever, under any circumstance, negotiate with a tenant. Let me repeat, we do not negotiate with tenants. The minute you start negotiating with a tenant, you are in trouble. Okay, if the rent is $1,500, stick to your guns. It's $1,500. Or here's my favorite, Mr. Rick, I can give you $1,500 plus a secure deposit, but I just don't quite have enough for the last. So if my policy was first, last, and security, that's $4,500. That's what I need. The minute you negotiate one of those things, like say they're not going to give you the last. Well, why do landlords collect the last? So you don't get screwed on that last month's rent when they don't pay you or you have to do an eviction. It's so important to have it. It's the correct way to do it. The minute you bend on this and you buy into the story, you are just going to be a victim of a tenant stepping on you. And that's not being a landlord. That means you're running the business as a hobby, and you don't want to do that. So number two, never, ever, under any circumstances, negotiate with the tenant. It will backfire, and they're going to use that as fuel to go, okay, he's flexible, so I'm going to just keep asking for stuff, and they're going to wear you down to the point where you just want them out of the property. So if you stick to your guns, you will have a better tenant. You'll be a better landlord in the long run for it. So guys, the last one, which is a biggie, before I share it, please hit the subscribe button. If you like more content like this from myself and Zach, I'm giving you this for free. I want to teach as many people and reach them and get them their first few deals under their pocket so they don't have to pay a big, giant guru, coach, whatever you want to call them, and get you to the finish line. So number one, without further suspense, here's the big secret. Under no circumstances, if this is your first rental property you're being the landlord for, and the first one's your most proud property, do not tell them you're the owner. I repeat, do not tell them you're the owner. Even if you're the owner and you're going to service the property because that's what you want to do, that's fine. But just let them know you're the property manager, or you help out the owner and you do the day-to-day tasks with the property. The minute they know that you're the owner, just something changes with them. So if you're the middleman, you can always play good cop, bad cop. Like if you're having problems collecting the rent and you had to go by and serve like a 3-day notice, that's just a notification. You have 3 days to make the rent right, or we're going to move forward with the formal eviction process. And they say, hey, Rick, like, I'm having a tough month. I'm going to need help. Can you give me another week or two? I go, listen, if it's up to me, I'd give you 2 weeks, but I know the owner, this is a non-negotiable point with him. And if you're going to have problems paying the rent, then we just need to come to an agreement and get you moved out of there. It's just that simple. I can tell you, I'm not even going to ask because he'll fire me, and it's non-negotiable with him. So you've got to remember when I put you in with the lease, I told you you had to make the payment by the 3rd, and you agreed to it. That's what we're sticking to. That's what we agreed on. So now if you turn around and they think you're the owner, they're going to try to manipulate you and work you. And I don't want you to fall victim. I see, my heart is bigger than my landlord skills, and I know that. So I have to use a filter because I'm like a really nice guy. I'm just authentic. Sometimes I can't put up that front because I want to help people out. But remember, I have a commitment to my company, my family, and everybody that works for me. Is this an asset and has to produce because there's bills to be paid? We're trying to take care of our families while providing a valuable, safe, clean home for people. So these are my top 10 things, guys. I'm telling you, take it to heart. Now, are there more? Absolutely. I could go on probably 200 things on the list, but these are the most important lessons I've learned in landlording, and I want you to learn from my 18 years experience. This is Rick with Flip with Rick. Guys, hit the subscribe, smash that like button, make a comment. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Would you add something else to the top 10? I'm wide open. I want to hear your feedback. I really appreciate you tuning in to Flip with Rick, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.